guys, and welcome to the ThinkShack, where we explore memes to their extremes.
Yeah, so, we were talking the other day, and actually yesterday, it wasn't such a long time, and you said that something you found interesting was if there might be a connection between the sex position at conception and the career trajectory that the baby takes on.
The career and life trajectory. I was thinking, if...
Oh yeah, hi everyone. Sorry,
everyone. I was
just been reminded to say hi to everyone.
How was your week? Let's start off by asking, if you were listening to this, put down your name in the comments
and tell us how your week was and what you think about the podcast so far, and just so we know if we're doing good work.
We were thinking if someone's name was directly correlated to the method, position, time it took to conceive, what kind of names would they get, and would that impact their trajectory in life?
Like people who got conceived during a quickie might have
a short attention span,
and people conceived in the spooning position are gonna be lazy naturally. And people who got conceived off of sex on the table are,
depending on what was on the table
tennis stars.
They're gonna be table tennis star. If you want your kids to be smart, if you want the next CEO of Amazon, make sure there's a computer there as you're doing.
You can have sex on the work desk.
Basically, you can determine.
You're gonna be a workaholic.
You can determine your kid's future.
But I did take you seriously, though. I did take you seriously, and I actually went and Googled this shit, and I found out that while there is no research on the relation, because I think it would be really hard to collect that kind of data, difficult. But there is actually research about the relationship between the sex position and the specific timing of sex and the gender of the child.
What gender does doggy style create?
So apparently there's this thing called the shettlesmethod, right? So
a position?
No, I wish it was though, because that was really interesting. Let's do the shuttle baby.
Let's do the shuttle baby tonight. Which one? I'll show you.
Strictly
suggest.
Exactly. Strictly without being an expert on this topic. So I just read this Helpline article, but they generally say the odds of conceiving a boy or a girl are about 50-50. But there's this guy called Landrum Shettles who in the 1960s studied sperm and the timing of intercourse and other factors like the pH of body fluids and sexual position to figure out what might have an effect on which sperm reaches the egg first. So first, he kind of figured that, just to give a bit of science background, right, that it's the sperm that determines the sex of the baby or gender. If you want to make the distinction, we'll say sex, because the topic of gender is such a touchy one these days. But generally, if the sperm has 2 X chromosomes being general gene bundles, like I like to call them, then it's going to be a girl, because the egg always has X chromosomes. And if the sperm has an X and a Y chromosome, then it's going to be a boy, right? So he figured that sperm cells, or rather he studied sperm to see the differences, and he theorized based on his observations that Y sperm, the ones with the Y chromosome, are lighter, smaller, and have round heads, while X chromosomes, X sperm, are heavier, larger, and have oval shape.
Yeah, he went really into it.
Exactly.
He even looked at the shape?
Not only that, but he also theorized that Y sperm survive in more alkaline conditions, right? And X sperm survive in more acidic conditions. So based off of this, he came up with some ideas. So for example, if you're having sex, he would advise that the woman orgasm first if you wanted a boy, because the woman's sex fluids are actually alkaline, so they alkalinize the cervix and everything, making it easier for the Y sperm to make it to the egg.
So if she comes first, it's a boy.
Not only that, but also he figured it makes more sense, right, to have sex, if you want a boy to have sex right before or right after ovulation, because that's the closest. It gives him time to swim quickly without staying in the vagina too long or the cervix too long.
Maybe this is why women prefer period sex, because women have a craving.
It's probably going to be a girl if it's period sex, at least according to Shettles. But then if you want a girl, so the woman shouldn't come first, the man should come first, which now
maybe that's why there's more women in the womb. Men come first.
Might be the reason.
So
I don't know.
So if you're in the comments, look at your family. How many sisters do you have? Your dad is a speed fucker.
It's not just that, but he was saying that the sperm that gives rise to women can survive a lot longer in the conditions at the opening of the vagina, which are highly acidic, right?
Super
so like they're really strong, hardy sperm, and these are the ones that give rise to women. So if you look at a man that has mostly girls, it means he also has, weirdly enough, according to Shettles, stronger sperm, because the sperm that makes boys is weak and expendable.
Oh, wow.
And I'm so sorry to all the strong men out there, because traditionally the male is physically larger than the female. It's amazing to think that as sperms the roles were reversed.
If you're strong, it's not because of your dad. I know that. So now we know the strength of a woman is actually in the sperms of her dad.
Yeah, exactly. Now, interestingly enough, here's the thing about position, right?
Yeah.
So if you have sex in doggy style, the penetration is deeper. So this allows the Y sperm to get into the uterus faster, and you're likely to get a boy in doggy. That's according to Shettles. If you have missionary, it's more shallow, so you like to get a girl. I mean, and just without rubbishing the struggles of couples that are trying to have children, I know that there's a whole thing around this, but so I'm just gonna add this disclaimer: you should probably consult with a doctor, because the thing about the Shettles method is that a lot of researchers have also refuted it and said they've done studies and they're like, actually we didn't see any correlation between these.
But it does sound like it has reasonable grounds.
I think the logic here isn't that it may be right or not. I remember I was talking to you about this earlier. I was talking about like the interface theory of perception. It's not about what is real. It's about what helps you survive.
Sure.
The thing about this is that it doesn't hurt to try. If you're really looking for a specific gender, it may or may not work, and if you want to tell yourself in your head that it worked because you did that, sure, but it is worth trying if you really want a specific gender.
Someone listening who has 5 girls and please let this one be a boy. Well, it's up to you. Don't say please.
Have it in doggy. You can perform this elaborate ritual, because that's what it is. It's literally a freaking ritual. You can, it's no different than dancing to the heavens and offering sacrifice.
And if there's variations in doggy style, right? So
yeah,
depending on which doggy style you
go for the variation that allows for the deepest penetration possible. It also kind of makes me think, and this is a crazy thought, right? Because it's about depth of penetration, right? Does it mean that niggas with longer dicks are more likely to have boys because they're going right in there,
going right to the source?
Right to freaking Zion.
By the time the Prince comes out, it's high-fiving the whole.
Now we need to do a study between a study of the correlation between the average length of the penis, the man's penis when erect, and the average gender of their children.
Speaking of that, there's an interesting fact.
There may be some kind of relationship there.
About the average, statistics seem to say it's 5 point something inches, which I think most people feel like it's probably a bit small. But then that's most guys. That's most guys. Yeah, most people will probably be like, nah, but they don't know about measurements. But anyways, there's this thing that's like the BBC theory. That black people tend to have bigger packages. And then I think it's more popularized by the fact that Roman and Greek statues had really small penises. Yeah. There's an interesting story to that. It's like an interesting factoid of the day.
Oh yeah, let's tell our views about it.
Back then in those days when people were making statues, the artists and the philosophers, they used to associate having a large penis with being worldly and brutish.
Uncivilized, uncultured.
So they would make them with purposely small dicks to highlight the intelligence.
Yeah, like this man is not led by his base desires. It's really interesting, the connection that the Greeks had, like the relationship they had with sex.
It was very interesting.
And in that way, then it would show that, because I think, and I'm talking out of my ass here, so someone can come correct in the comments, but I think that the stereotype, or the meme, if you will, of Africans having larger than average penises has persisted since the past, long in the past, like even from the days when we were slaves, or and that's our cousins in the US and other places. So then it would mean that they would associate this with some kind of inferiority. And it's so funny because the tables got turned, because now in the 21st and in the 21st century, having larger dick is actually something that people would love. They look up to people.
But imagine if it was actually like a fact that Africans have larger dicks. Imagine how much tourism would increase.
Well, is it not a fact?
Well, I think it is somewhat. I don't know.
I think we should probably look into that. Like, see if there's actually data there to support the claim that Africans have larger dicks than average. It might actually be informed by porn, though. Probably, because like a lot of black porn actors have incredibly long dicks. Yeah. But anyway, guys, that was the opener. Welcome to the ThinkShack podcast.
Consider yourselves opened and penetrated as well.
Yeah, it was a very penetrative opener. Hopefully,
from the rear.
Hopefully, it will
locate and inform me of practices. Let's hope we'll have more boys and more girls, whatever you decide. But it's up to you guys.
I think it's just gonna be like, I'm gonna be thinking about like, oh, I want a boy this time, doggy.
Before we close
next time, I want a girl, missionary.
Before we close that, what if you want a kid who's transgender?
I don't know.
That isn't like a 69 or something.
That's an interesting thought to go down. Like, I would love to know. Like, guys, 69. But then it's 69. I mean, it would have to be like some weird.
I inverted 69. 96.
You're 96. I would love to know. Anyway, like, so give us your opinion on the whole thing in the comments.
And tell us what you think you were conceived in, what position you think. If that means imagining your parents having sex, but I mean, necessary evil, this is for science. So
exactly.
Think about it.
For science. Science is the only justification you need. So anyway, a lot of the topics in today's episode are very fun. The first one is this Jesus of Tongaren guy. I don't know if you've heard of him, but there's this new guy in, is it Bungoma? Yeah, who claims to be Jesus. Is it the same guy who got admitted with Busaa poisoning? That was a fake story.
Wow.
Ah, okay, yeah, that was a fake story. But it's the same guy that they were claiming that off of.
Blasphemy.
So just recently said that only 168,000 people will enter heaven in the entire world.
Wait.
And that in Nairobi, only 2 people will be saved, and they're not even born yet.
There go us and our listeners. We're done for, guys. Might as well do.
I mean, we just had a conversation about what sex position has, sex position has to your career. So I think we're far gone at this point.
Or maybe we might be encouraging the people to give birth to the 2 people who
so you give birth to one boy,
make it
one girl, and maybe, just maybe, they're going to be the chosen ones that made it to heaven.
Of Nairobi.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, I hear that there are a lot of strange things happening at his church. So for example, only those who fast, because they have like this whole fasting culture going on there. So only those who fast for 3 days, those who fast for 3 days are not allowed to drink or eat anything.
Wow.
Those who fast for 7 days, because they have like a whole like schedule for fasting, those who fast for 7 days are allowed to drink only 1 glass of water every evening. And those who go for 40 days can only drink 1 cup of black tea daily, but they're prohibited from drinking water or eating food.
Why black specifically?
I guess because it's calorie free ish.
But water is calorie free as well.
I mean
black tea is made with water.
Yeah, so I mean, if otherwise, like white tea would have milk, so that's technically food, it's nourishment. So with black tea, it's just a tea. I don't even know if they're allowed sugar, because if you have sugar in it, that's definitely some calories.
We're dying,
Yeah. So if they have sugar, then shit, you ate, bruv. Yeah. You got some sugar in your system.
Oh, shit.
You're going to hell. You broke your fast.
There you go.
And then the people will go for 40 days. Like imagine 40 days of nothing but black tea.
It would be probably a good weight loss method.
It would be a great weight loss method. I think this should be added on the list of like a diet and
crazy ways to diet.
Join a crazy church. Yeah. No, not just
crazy ways
fast. I mean, fasting is great, but imagine fasting and being a religious fanatic.
That's like the combo.
Just the extra stress from trying to follow all the little weird rules.
You probably wouldn't be able to do anything else in your day. Like, I can't imagine someone like that is working. Literally, like, how can you be fasting, listening to all this weird dogma?
There's probably a lot of singing and dancing in church for these people. I saw the video the other day of these women that were shaking their bums. Remember, they were all bending in the church and they were shaking. God! You didn't see that video? I posted it on my WhatsApp.
Is that supposed to be like them shaking the demons out, or what?
Probably.
Shaking hands.
See that video? Like they were all bending over. Like it was a whole twerk. They were literally twerking. That's the word. They were working for Jesus.
Sometimes I wish I was a pastor because, I mean, you can do so much stuff. And it's for free as well. Like,
Yeah, I bet. Ask Andrew Kibe. He used to be a pastor. I heard there was this list of things. What's his name? Terrence Creative had written a list of failures. One of them was that Andrew Kibe was a pastor and he got kicked out because he was feeding on the
organs.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is something very, I mean, I can imagine if I was a pastor, I'd probably do the same thing.
Oh shit, there's actually there are actually African herbs that help increase men's penile length and girth. Jesus freaking Christ, have you seen this picture of like these African men and how big and long?
This is interesting.
Like, Jesus Christ, those things look like cloth.
This looks like Photoshop.
They're probably not even hard. It could be Photoshop. Yeah. Those are really large.
But the problem with having a big dick is you don't get hard all the way.
You don't get, because of the blood requirement, right? Because like
it's like lifting a whole leg.
Yeah, it's really hard to see.
Imagine smashing with your leg up the whole time.
It's just, yeah, it's really tiring.
Cramp.
Exactly. So I mean, anyway,
but I think it would be cool if we got a sponsor who sells those in a part of the podcast, because that would be an amazing way to.
Yeah. So in case there's anyone who wants to sponsor us and you sell those things that I just like to add to our viewers that those things probably don't work. But hey, if you want to sell the false hope to our readers, please contact us. We will gladly advertise you. We're all for false hope.
But that brings up questions like, what are they doing in that tribe? Really, like, is their whole existence focused on dick expansion? Because like that, like geographically speaking, is it that they have the gene, the big dick gene?
It could be, or it could be they have practice. Like I've seen tribes in Africa where they do stuff to lengthen their ears, enlarge their mouths. So I would guess they would have something similar for their dick, because it's just
the weird side is there's actually also practices to enhance to enlarge the labia. Who wants that?
Oh yeah, the mouth, the outer mouth. Yeah. I mean, there are probably women listening right now who have like really large labia, and they're like, "Oh, what I do it?" You know?
When you're done with that, you wipe your face and then it's out.
I mean, the guys probably like it. The guys are just like, man, you know, it's like elephant ears. You just like wrap yourself.
Do you have to fold it after you're done, like the way you fold clothes?
You're just like. Oh, it's making it to TikTok. Oh, but anyway, going back to Jesus. Coming back to Jesus. So like these guys who fast have their own hut, right? And this is basically just a mud-walled hut with a small window. And so they have like the people who fast sitting in there. Like apparently on Sunday there were 8 worshippers. I don't know which Sunday.
Which was what I was saying.
6 women and 2 men, and they completed the 3-day fast. And the worshippers on fast spend days and nights inside this hut. Like you said, they're not doing anything, and are not allowed to go outside unless they're going to relieve themselves.
Relieve yourself of what? You haven't eaten anything.
Food, probably hunger.
Bone marrow?
I mean, all that water they're drinking, they probably need to take a piss. Oh, yeah, you know. And then, of course, we have the thing about the rules concerning women. So women on their periods are required to wear black attire and sit behind at the back of the church during service, and they're not allowed to stand, talk, or shake hands with fellow worshippers. And if ever I've seen discrimination, that's one of the fucking item discrimination. Imagine you go to a church and immediately you can tell which women are on that period.
Look at her, she's in black.
You're not saying hi to anyone.
But it would be cool if that was like a policy for dating. Like if you invite a girl over to your place, you see her in black, you're like, oh no, I'm not in the house.
Yeah, this would be really cool, because like, you know, the boyfriends are like, I saw you in black today and you want to come to my place?
Don't come over.
You're not going to give me the bouquet and you want to come.
Come back with in white.
I'm sorry, I'm busy today. So there's the other thing about women, right? So women worshippers are not allowed to enter the church in trousers or makeup. And women who wear trousers, okay, so this is what Jesus says, right? Jesus of Tongaren. Women who wear trousers, makeup, rings, or wigs already have the mark of the beast. That my God. 6, as recorded in Revelation 13:18 in the Bible. And their fate is already sealed, as he puts it.
Think about
He also says that he does not like the mohawks hairstyle, because it's prohibited for men, which kind of like means I can't even join that church. Other sins which Jesus of Tongaren says are unforgivable are eating meat from camels, dogs, and cats. So I guess rabbits are okay.
Good, yeah?
Snails, snakes, monkeys, these are totally fine. It's just if it's a dog or a camel. I will not accept camel meat.
Think about the restrictions. Like
cheetah, you can have a cheetah.
You have to be from a very specific place to have dog, camels, and cats at the same time. Like
it has to be from northeastern.
Literally,
like why is it singling out camels? You know, like what the fuck? You could have said donkeys. Donkeys are in western, you know, but
basically
camels.
You say that people from Masabit or wherever are not allowed in heaven because they've eaten camels.
Yeah, like that's an entire freaking race, bro. But then he did say only 168,000 people, so that means probably entire races are just gonna go to hell. But so I'm kind of like thinking, like, if God, you know, if you believe in God, create all of these races just so like 20% of them go to heaven and the other 80% is.
I mean, if you think about it, like philosophically speaking, if it's such an exclusive place, it would make sense that the entrance is reserved, right?
Yeah.
Although 2 is probably a bit too prohibitive. But I can understand when things happen in Nairobi.
Yeah.
For probably the hub of super gonorrhea. God probably saw super gonorrhea in the news and he was like, nah, okay. Hey, talk to the angel. Can I get that guest list?
Yeah.
Take off the people from Kenya.
Take off these people. They're going to bring, because like heaven is all about like having these awesome sex orgies. And he does not want people infecting each other in that. I mean, so you only go in if you're clean.
Aren't you supposed to get 77 virgins? Like, this is the Muslim version, right? Like if you get 77 virgins, what are you doing here then?
Because the joke I've heard is if you're supposed to, actually it's 70 virgins, and if you go in, what if they're all boys?
Oh shit! It didn't specify.
It didn't specify. Like you have to you're a martyr. You know, you just like freaking suicide bombed yourself. And like, 70 virgins like these little boys.
It gives you a whole lecture like, dude, what did you think? You go and kill yourself? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Of course I gave you boys. You're a psychopath.
Couldn't you see the freaking joke coming? Like, what do you think? Like, you think I'm crazy? Why the hell would I reward you? But if you're gay, do we have gay Muslims? Gay Muslims probably gonna really have a lot of fun
with the 77 boy virgin.
Actually, you know what? Gay Muslims are gonna have fun, and then secretly Catholic priests are gonna feel envious.
This is what is gonna get us cancelled.
Shots fired. No, but it's pretty open. I mean, there are a lot of cases out there of Catholic priests molesting little boys. It's not all Catholic priests, but it is a freaking stereotype.
It's like the calling. Let's say you're a priest, you get this calling, you see a vision of a tunnel, and then at the end of the tunnel, there's a little boy with his pants down, and you're like, oh my goodness, I saw heaven. And then you see the altar boy is now actually like, it's just like my vision.
So moving on swiftly, I hear that the Education CS has banned morning and night preps and says classes should start at 8 a.m. and end at 3:45. What do you think about that?
That's a good move. You know, I think that kids in Kenya get a lot, like too much. You have some kids waking up at 5 a.m. You as an adult, wake up at 5 a.m. like on a regular basis to go and study stuff you have no passion for.
Exactly.
We spend the whole day. It's not conducive to good mental health. I mean, I understand they do it in Asia. I feel like, I believe they have 12-hour workday, 12-hour days for students, I believe, in Japan or China. I'm not so sure which one.
Wow.
China.
That sounds terrible. So like torture.
But I mean, if you look at Asian society, yes, they're advanced, but then at the same time, look at how, don't they have the most depressed people? I think Japan has probably the highest.
Possibly.
Depressed people.
Yeah. Plus, I don't think there is necessarily a correlation between how many hours your kids spend in school on average and, like, for example, the amount of like innovation you produce, or like the scientific, you know, like discoveries and whatnot.
It's about efficiency.
Because it not just about efficiency, but you can't factory produce genius. You can't.
True.
At any rate, in fact, if you really want genius, you got to give people the room and the freedom to explore whatever the hell tickles their fancy. And once they do it, I mean, some of them are gonna have their fancy tickled by like random stuff like playing video games or whatnot. But for some of them, it might just so happen that whatever tickles their fancy turns out to be important for the economy. Like, the thing about genius is that it has no direction. People are geniuses at some of the most useless stuff, and I always subscribe to the saying that everybody's a genius at something. It just so happens that some particular
It's more useful than the other.
Exactly, but you never arrive there anyway, and this is the main point. If you don't give people the freedom to explore,
Genius is accidental, basically. Or
actually,
incidental.
I once heard the perfect saying that genius is not a person, genius is a moment. And if you think about it that way, everybody has a moment of genius. It's just that perfect moment where you synthesize everything you know, and you come up with an idea that is so novel and incredible that no other people would not have easily stumbled upon it.
Here's an idea I just thought of. Let's say before the invention of the car, for example.
Right.
You might have students working 12 hours a day to figure out the most efficient form of walking, the most effective form of walking. And they'll create technology around walking. But then some random weirdos probably spend like an hour thinking about it outside of that school will come and create a different means. So genius exists outside of the bubble. And what you have when you're forced,
it requires some form of out of the box thinking.
Exactly. Sure. When you have students like doing the same thing repetitive over and over, trying to force them, trying to beat them to learn.
Exactly. Not to mention a lot of it is rote learning. Like let's be honest. A lot of the learning that is happening here isn't directed towards actually learning, which would be great. It's directed towards preparing for some exam or other. In which case, a lot of it is I need to memorize this, I need to memorize that, just so I can spit it out again at the exam and pass. But if you had like someone spend 12 hours a day just exploring random articles on the internet or watching random videos or just like tinkering and playing with stuff, that is a lot of hours spent on the right stuff. Like good ROI is gonna come from that, and then you're more likely to see genius come out of that. Now I support having kids, of course, just to make it clear. I don't think necessarily, well, I think that having fewer school hours in a day is good for Kenyan kids. I don't think that means that we're gonna get more kids doing interesting stuff, because we need to change the entire education system for that. And I'm not talking about CBC. I'm talking about like properly letting kids explore. Because the thing about CBC is that it has its heart in the right place, but this would only work for private schools. Like if you like this whole thing about having kids like being identified at a young age, right? So you're like, oh yeah, this one's gonna be a footballer, so let me put him in the football class. But if you have teacher to student ratios of 1 to 300, it's gonna be really hard for any given teacher, especially in public schools, to correctly identify the hidden talents of every student.
They probably gotta use shortcuts at that point.
Exactly. So we're still gonna get some weird factor type bundling, and the CBC won't work. It'll work in private schools where teacher to student ratios are much smaller, but then this means private schools will be charging a premium, and for parents who cannot afford that, then they have to take their children to public school.
There's a very interesting show. You've talked about that, and there was also this, sometimes these questions come up and you wonder if there's a correlation between the wealth of the education versus the outcome of it. There was this show, I think it was a documentary on BBC, was done in the UK, that was examining the quality of education between private schools and public schools. And it did turn out that the kids from the private schools ended up being more successful in life than the ones from the public schools, but not necessarily because of the quality of education.
Okay.
But because they had also extracurricular activities that opened up their minds to different kinds of thinking. Obviously, they had more networking skills and more confidence. And things like that.
I would imagine that would be true, because I mean, ideally public schools and private schools, whether in the UK or in most other countries, follow the same curriculum. So you're kind of learning the same stuff. But in private schools, like you said, there are a lot of extracurricular activities. Teachers can give you more personalized attention. Yeah. They can connect you to their network, because these teachers also have better networks and whatnot. Schools are going to take you on interesting field trips or take you to things like the Model United Nations, where you get to like
to be a mailman or
exactly. So there's like so much that goes on, on the periphery in private schools. It just gives these people an advantage. And now you have an education system that is somewhat trying to groom every child to be the best they can at whatever they're good at. Private schools are going to even outperform public schools even more. And this, on the one hand, is great for those who can afford private school with the CBC. On the other hand, it's a disaster for all the poor parents out there.
That's the majority, sadly.
Exactly. So we're going to have like this just weird situation where your kid not only is in the system that, like requires him to like buy freaking maca powder or whatever the hell is like $1,200 for some school project, which is already expensive enough. But if there were a gap in like opportunity between private school educated children and public school educated children is only gonna grow wider. So your kid is started like 5-0 by the time they finish school, and that's a shit situation to be in.
For them to kind of mingle. I don't know if not many schools do this, but there should be ways for them to mingle with the rich kids and get to kind of interact and get some of the benefits that they get, and then also for the private school kids to get kind of the experiences that the public school kids get. Because it's not entirely saying the public school kids don't have any advantage over the private school kids, because
can you name any of these advantages?
In the real world, they might be a bit more industrious than the private school kids, because when you've grown up with a silver spoon, like it will be harder for you to get out there and grind, and there's things you can do. And also I feel like it comes with maybe a bit more people skills. Right. Let's say of course in the private school you're getting more individual attention, stuff like that, but you're interacting in these very formal setups, where the other ones you were like in the more informal thing where you have to kind of struggle for everything, whether it's the attention, whether it's like the popularity and everything like that. So I would say that's one advantage. They're more industrious.
One way that I can see this problem being solved is if we had like in the private sector, again, because this is going to be like one of those really difficult to solve problems. So if you have something in the private sector, then money needs to be involved, so it locks out poor people. But if we had like clubs that promoted things like theater, anybody can join, and clubs that promoted football, like for kids and stuff, like football academies or whatnot, and anyone can join, whether you're from a public or private school, or those that promoted business and whatnot, like national networks with their own so like what the Model United Nations does with the Great Debaters Contest. It would kind of like mesh these children from these two systems together. ISEC as well. It will mesh these two in the system together, so that by the time they're done, they're getting to university, everyone's getting some kind of exposure. I mean, even then it would just be a band-aid, because there's like so many people, you can't absorb all of them into some kind of system. But if we had more efforts along these lines, then it would really help. Though I have noticed that when it comes to university, a lot of the kids that grew up in public school end up in the same unis as the kids who grew up in private schools, and then like it's the great equalizer. In uni, everyone's the fucking same, right, basically. 100%. Like you all went to UR and you all suffer equally. You all get your asses kicked by the GSU whenever there's a strike. So now you're all even,
So what do you think could be the actual reducing the study hours? That's a positive move in the right direction. But what do you think will be the great equalizer in terms of like what policy would make a huge difference to improve the schooling or education system in the country?
Personally, I feel, and this is a very personal opinion, I don't expect anyone to agree with me, but I feel like school is misplaced. It worked in an era where we needed factory workers. Right now,
very dumb statement.
Exactly. Like right now, if we can somehow figure out how to make internet access accessible to everyone, and at least a laptop accessible to everyone, a lot of what you're learning in school is readily available online. For sure. And so we can have like homeschooling centers, community homeschooling centers, where kids go there, where they could access laptops from the center, they could come with their own laptops, and then for the rest of the day they have like some kind of direct. You've told me about a system that works like this.
System like that. My brother actually went to a system like that. It's called ACE, for those of you who might be familiar. It's a very interesting system where you have the kids, essentially everyone is running at their own pace. They have these things called paces, which is kind of like tests that you get individualized, and everyone has their own workstation. The teachers are just there to guide and supervise, but it's really just like an office setting. You have your own workstation. You don't do much talking during the day. The only thing you do is you like keep your head down, you set your own goals and that kind of thing, and then you mainly learn from the internet.
So like with the internet, I think having more and more of a system that allows kids to explore, and then giving them the resources that allow this, like all of the money that we are spending on developing these curricula and building these schools should be directed towards building like homeschooling centers for every community where kids can just go. And considering that, with kids, like a lot of kids like to. Some kids like to have to be taught, but a lot of kids like to be self-directed. Like, let me go explore this and explore that. Let me figure out how to fix this video.
Adulthood. I mean, you're gonna have your job description, but then
exactly
what makes you stand out is what you do personally.
So it would be a lot closer to how even humans learn. And there's also the whole imitation and apprenticeship thing. I think another thing that would really benefit Kenya is if we had an apprenticeship system. There are a lot of things that you can learn out there that you can't learn on the internet. So for example, if we could have like some Kenyan Carpenters Association that takes in people at a young age, and you go and apprentice the carpenter and you learn the tools of the trade. By the time you're 15, you can make a whole ass table by yourself. Then we have just we've boosted the economy. Or a bed.
Or a love seat.
Or a love seat. You're like, oh, I just realized that there's a market for
to channel my talent.
Pieces of furniture that make the doggy position easier, because all these people want to have boys.
Oh, they want to have boys. You're like, my mother don't want to have kids, but I know a way to get them.
Hey, mom, I heard you want a boy. I'll make you a doggy.
You a love seat. So the Carpenters Association is like,
they want a love
seat, but lux package.
Yeah, exactly. We need a lot more apprenticeship, and this, interestingly enough, happens in more developed countries. A lot more of it happens in
woodworking. They have things like that.
Exactly, woodworking, carpentry, plumbing, metalwork, basically practical things that it's not just about like tapping into your skill, because a lot of people have like a lot of skill in their hands, the kinesthetics, but also things that ultimately can contribute somewhat to both our formal and informal manufacturing sector, which are like a huge part of the economy.
What you're suggesting is kind of like bringing the polytechnics down to a lower level.
Exactly. Yeah, what we need are polytechnics for freaking 10-year-olds, 15-year-olds. You know,
that's a great idea.
I think that would help a great deal. Driving schools where you can learn like proper defensive driving, and you can drift and whatnot. You know, and
people just like chasing you for carrying tons of Mira that you haven't like declared.
Just drift.
I rather learn this in school. I'll do the J turn.
Exactly. Engage that parking brake, bro. But yeah, so that's what I think. But I've seen that a lot of the hate that came from this policy, that was directed towards this policy, came from people who were under the previous education system. They're like, but we suffered. We went for morning preps. Why are they getting it easy?
It's a very weird attitude.
It's a very weird attitude. I see it everywhere. People are like, I suffered, so you should suffer too.
What's the point? Like, you suffered, you shouldn't have had to suffer in the first place. Instead of saying like you shouldn't suffer, you're like, no, I want you to suffer too.
And one place I see so much of it is when it comes to, you know, like spanking your own kids, like corporal punishment. Well, I had my ass, you know, kicked. I should kick your ass too. I was spanked, I'll spank you. Like, okay, just because you were spanked, okay, let's not talk about all the unresolved trauma you have, Karen. But just because you were spanked doesn't mean you need to spank your kids as well. Yeah, that's probably Jesus of Tongaren.
The Illuminati
looking for new members from that lot.
That's with the speaker on the top saying, hey, you shouldn't be recruited to Illuminati. In all my years, no one has ever tried to recruit me to Illuminati.
Probably
the fact that I heard them, I feel like I should look for an organization to join Illuminati.
I don't think if the real Illuminati is even trying to recruit. People are trying to get in.
Not some weird carpenter from random places in town. Like,
what the hell are you doing to take your
kids? Like, your kids are low quality.
Exactly.
No offense.
Exactly. But I mean, if he's a rich carpenter, though, his kids are probably high quality. Or if he has big genes. What is
a rich carpenter?
Oh, I think you can make a lot of money no matter what profession you're in. And this is something I was thinking about. Okay, so quick segue, guys. So, there's something called scalability. Why does Cristiano Ronaldo make more money
than Kevin Oliech,
a neurosurgeon?
Oh, okay, a neurosurgeon.
Yeah, the neurosurgeon impacts lives in a bigger way, right? He saves your life. You know, better yet, fuck that. Why does Cristiano Ronaldo make more money than a freaking teacher, like a really good teacher? This teacher has, you know, probably even taught Cristiano Ronaldo himself, you know, and encouraged him, and he went to lunch. Why? It's because of something called scalability. Cristiano Ronaldo is watched by billions. the teacher at any given time can at most impact a few hundred students. If you can get whatever product you're selling to as many people as possible, if you can scale it, then you can make money. So for example, instead of the teacher teaching one class at a time, he makes an entire course and sells it on Udemy for $10 a course. And then if 100,000 people sign up for it, well, guess what? He's now a millionaire. That's scalability. If you're a carpenter, stop making the carpentry yourself. Make a system for it. Hire some people. Open a few branches, and then call it Victoria Furnitures. And guess what? Scalability. You're now rich. No matter what industry you're in, if you can find a way to systematize it and then scale it up, you can make a shit ton of money.
What is with the name Victoria? There's Victoria's Secret, Victoria Furnitures.
I think it's associated with the Queen. It sounds fancy because of Queen Victoria, you know? Queen Victoria of England.
Victoria's Secret. I wonder what the secret was. Maybe she didn't shave.
And that's why they sell patches. That's why they sell underwear. There's actually on TikTok as well.
Victoria's Secret.
Exactly.
Razor.
Victoria's Secret, guys, is that she didn't shave. That's why they sell underwear.
Gillette knows Victoria's Secret.
Gillette.
Because she's a customer.
We need an animation for that. I swear, I wish we get an animated pretty soon, because
if there's an animated listening to
where
this,
Gillette is like you can see Victoria, who's like this really sexy model, and she has a towel on, and Gillette is right behind her or in front of her, but we can't see him. This does this, and then Gillette is like, oh, "That's your secret?
Oh my god!
I'll take care of it." You know, it looks like Gillette is going down on Victoria, but when he's done, Victoria is like a baby. You know, like a baby's bum.
Baby smooth.
So anyway, what's the other topic we need to talk about? Oh yeah, there's the Busaa secret ingredient. So they brought a clip on
Victoria's Secret. Another Victoria's Secret.
That is the Busaa secret. How do they make these illicit brews? Why are there always panties inside the freaking barrels?
So here's what I've heard. I've heard that it's for the superstitious people. It's more about the charms. So they want the men, because it's typically men who drink Busaa. If you know a woman who drinks Busaa, forget her. They leave her number. That is not the
that is not the right woman for you. I'm sorry, bro.
If you drink Busaa,
if you know a woman who drinks Busaa, actually, please
call the helpline.
Call us and take us to her, because we don't think she exists. We'll probably pay you.
Take her to Jesus, Bugama Jesus.
So that she will be forced to dress in black.
The reason I heard they do that is just to try and get the men addicted. It's like this whole thing of hukalia chapati, like sitting on a roti so that your man gets addicted to you. And someone commented on that and said, I mean, it works in marriage as well. First of all, that's like a question mark.
Oh shit, that's what that means?
Yeah.
I never understood that. Like, udem amekalia uchali chapati. I'm like, wait, nidem amekalia chali, and then the chali is now flat like a chapati. It's like she was cooking chapatis for him, and then she sat on them herself.
And I hear they do it for tea as well, where they take the panties.
Oh my god!
And use it as a sieve.
Oh my god!
So.
Oh shit, that is so cringe.
Now your tea before you.
From today, I will cook my own chapatis. Thank you.
Can you imagine how much of a sexual experience it was just to drink tea? You're drinking a milk from the breast of a cow.
And do you think any of that shit, like one thing I find interesting, I have like these weird, what were you calling them? Creative diarrhea?
Creative diarrhea.
But it's not just creative diarrhea. It's also when you kind of like sit down and wonder about like things that people consider normal, and then you realize that you're actually kind of tugging on the fabric of reality, because some of that shit doesn't make sense. Like, have you noticed that there is this weird relationship between sex and food, where even the terms of endearment we use for our loved ones are food, honey, cupcake, or or like that dame was sweet. Like, why the hell is there such an intimate relationship between sex and food? Why is fucking someone considered eating them?
You know, because eating food has been the most pleasurable experience of humanity since the dawn of man.
But now I guess you've kind of like opened my mind to the other side of it. And why is it that whenever someone wants to like bewitch someone, it has to do with associating like your sex, your genitals, and the food they eat? Like, can you see the weird relationship?
That's an interesting one.
Like, we're really tugging at the fabric of culture here. Like, where the hell did this practice come from?
But the crazy part about these Busaa dens is you find that the panties are always so large. They're like,
have you seen the women who cook like this?
Someone was saying the reason I put them in there because of the yeast.
Oh yeah.
So they wanted to ferment faster.
I subscribe more to that because it makes sense. Because like if you were brewing even craft beer, like there are like some really, you know, like industrial grade machines that you're using to make that shit. That, you know, like make sure the pH is just right.
Yeah.
And the microbial population or whatever is just right. So maybe you know, like a panty with periods in it is gonna make it just acidic enough that, you know, the brew will work out, or the yeast that you're talking about.
My goodness. And there always this weird color. Like, is it because of the Busaa or what? And the last one I saw, the video I saw, was orange. Like orange panties the size of a bed sheet.
Exactly.
Probably was on her period. It's like, that's the blood of 1,000 soldiers. Because of the size of...
For me, I would subscribe at this point to the whole interface theory.
I've never tried Busaa, but chang'aa. It's like
I've tried Maratina though, the Kikuyu traditional one.
Busaa,
I don't know how they make that.
Are actually quite different. Busaa is drinkable. It's basically just fermented beer. But then chang'aa is the one we're talking about, the illicit brew. Busaa is more traditional.
They make chang'aa though. I mean, I know how they make it. They use panties, but like, what does it taste like?
It must probably taste like panties. I mean, anything that makes your eyesight go away like in an instant, that's to be feared.
It's probably because it has a very high alcohol content. Alcohol is actually blinding.
It hits your stomach and you go blind.
Like, have you ever noticed that the shit they put on you in the barber at the barbers is actually alcohol?
Yeah,
they call it methylated spirit because ethanol is actually alcohol. So they put just a bit of methanol so you don't drink it. But even assuming it didn't have methanol in it, it's like what? Like almost like absinthe. You know, it's like almost 100% alcohol by volume. You drink that shit, best believe you're gonna lose your eyesight.
Oh my god.
You're gonna lose your eyesight.
I'm gonna throw some shade to, like, you know when they throw the spirit on you, like back when I used to shave.
Yeah.
It was funny because like the women barbers were the worst. They put like so much alcoholic spirit on you. It feels like they're trying to bathe your head.
It burns though.
It burns like,
oh my god.
I was learning how to do this, and
like, why the hell are you burning me?
Why are you burning me? I'm not a thief. What did I steal from you? I'm vape. What's wrong, Auntie?
What's wrong, Auntie? I just wanted a massage.
Is everything okay?
What's with the spirit? Now I can't even enjoy your boobs pressing against the back of my head.
That is the
while you massage me.
I kind of miss going to the barber because of that. Like they would touch you.
It's the massages. I think everyone goes to the and now they've kind of like caught on to it because like barbershops even
they have a room
dedicated. Exactly. Like I've seen barbershops being advertised like on Gong Road.
Like it's supposed to be a
barbershop where the women wear like skimpy shit, you know, and they're like sexy as hell, and they're just giving you a massage. You know,
the thing. It's supposed to be a head massage.
It's just short of a happy ending.
It's supposed to be a head massage. Why are you opening my shirt, Angie? My head is not on my shirt.
Well, I'm not complaining, Angie. Please go on. But why are you doing it?
Why are you doing it? Just tell me. I want to know. I want to consent to it.
I think with the Busaa thing, it's probably just an industrial thing. Like they kind of like figured a hack. You know, remember we were talking about this earlier on, and we were like, Kenyans, you give them a problem, they'll solve it if money is involved. They'll figure out a way. Yeah. So because like literally, you're trying to make fermented beer. They're trying to make their version of craft beer in a plastic barrel. They're gonna figure out a way to make it as industrial as possible. But also, I remember I was telling you about the interface theory of perception, or as David would call it, combinatorial ontology. Which is just a way to say that you use the knowledge that helps you survive. It doesn't freaking matter if it's the truth or not. So for the guys who drink the Busaa, it doesn't freaking matter if you use the panty or whatnot. He drinks it like, oh yeah, I like this. I don't know how it was created.
And what it does
exactly. When you reveal to him how it's made, then it comes as a shock. Oh my god, I didn't know. But that's only because now he knows. But before that, he was perfectly okay with it. It's like if I give you a piece of meat right now and you eat it, you're gonna be like, it's delicious, and then I tell you it's actually dog meat. It's only after you know it's dog meat that it's not that it's disgusting.
Yeah. You know, I'm a big believer in the what you don't know won't hurt you theory.
Exactly. Actually, that's the exact, the simple phrase for what I'm saying. What you don't know won't hurt you. Yeah. So basically, I mean that's the Busaa thing, and I don't think it's healthy for general reasons.
What you don't know won't hurt you, but what you don't know can hurt you, and I think that's the main argument for science and like research.
It's better to know more.
It can hurt you.
Yeah, but if it doesn't, you know, like it's up to you if you want to know it or not.
Eat the dog meat. Go ahead.
There's also an argument for why we shouldn't have 15 subjects in school, because I mean, fine, I don't know about the parts of a locust.
Like,
I can survive without knowing them. I mean, there's school dropouts out there who are doing way better financially than.
How much do you remember from school? I'm willing to bet it's like 10 to 20%.
And it was the 10 to 20% that I was actually interested in. That's the funny part.
And here's the crazy bit: how much of that is actually serving you in your work? Probably 5%.
Exactly.
It's crazy, isn't it?
In fact, you constantly have to be in this whole like continuous learning mood. You know, no matter what job you go into. It's not like you stop somewhere and then you can just like use all this crystallized knowledge.
Long story short, education at school is useless, but let's do it anyway.
We were supposed to talk about the collapse of Tuskies, but because we are running late, we actually have 15 minutes to 6. I think we're gonna leave it there. Viewers, please forgive us. And then we'll talk about it. Next week we'll make sure we talk about the collapse of Tuskies, because it's really interesting. We were plugged by a good YouTuber. We're gonna give you the story and tell you about the YouTuber. But other than that, I think we're pretty done.
You guys are awesome for listening to us, and I hope that we'll have.
So this is episode 4. These first few episodes are gonna become really close to each other, and then after that, we're gonna do like 1 episode per week. So hopefully you watch episode 2 and 3.
Just so you know, we're also available on most streaming platforms. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music.
Yeah, we're on TikTok and Instagram if you want like the shorts with like the really good parts from the.
Find us wherever you like.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Until next time, this was ThinkShack. It was a pleasure.
Keep thinking.
Bye-bye.